Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Pro Wrestling Throwdown for the week of December 12th, 2020. I'm Caleb Black. This is Luke the Big Dog Williams. That's our in-studio producer, the mighty Max Fury. And it is time for our tandem Superstar Spotlight, Superstar Deep Dive of the late, great Pat Patterson, who we lost earlier this month. While we were not here to produce a video, to cover his death, to cover his life, the discussion we wanted to have about him, we wanted to make sure we got it out here. Disclaimer, before we begin, we understand there's some controversy surrounding Pat Patterson. Rumors and innuendo regarding certain happenings, accusations that he received. From our perspective, and not discounting anything anyone has said, there are many people in the industry who were there for it, who want to discount those rumors. Obviously, Pat Patterson was a homosexual, outward homosexual in a period of time in wrestling where that wasn't acceptable. So that came with a lot of negativity. That's the countenance we're going off of. If you disagree, you're welcome to please skip the video, tune into someplace else. But this video is simply remembering Pat Patterson's contributions to the wrestling business for the sake of being Pat Patterson. He was the first Intercontinental Champion.
Before you skip the video, liking.
Yeah, like, subscribe. So if you're still with us, let's talk about Pat Patterson. What a career, first and foremost. The first Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, yes.
One of the first French mainstream professional wrestlers outside of Canadian and Northeastern territories.
Yep.
Was the king of the East Coast for the majority of his full-time in-ring wrestling career before he got into his 40s. His contributions to the wrestling business not only include, like I've mentioned several times, the inaugural Intercontinental Championship, was the guy who came up with the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
Which is your favorite pay-per-view.
It is. It's my favorite match.
Yeah, favorite match.
Ever. Yeah, and the messed up part about the whole situation is that Vince McMahon thought the idea was stupid.
Yeah, it wasn't until it was pitched to the TV executive, whose name I can't recall.
Dick Fox.
Yeah, Dick Fox, that Vince finally bought into the idea.
And it was one of those things, they needed something to counteract, I want to say it was Clash of the Champions.
Could have been.
Or War Games, something like that.
Some multi-man.
They wanted to do a live TV special on the USA Network.
Yeah.
To counteract
I'm gonna
say it was Clash. I'm gonna say it was Clash.
Let's call it Clash.
And they were running out of ideas on what to do, and Vince McMahon was like, Pat, tell him your stupid Battle Royal idea.
Tell him your idea, pal.
And now the Royal Rumble is the number one setup match to WrestleMania.
It's the Big Four.
Yeah.
And Pat Patterson, obviously for some viewers in our age range, will be remembered as one of the Stooges.
Best way I remember it is one of the Stooges.
With him and Jerry Briscoe. Some of the funniest content.
Them and the Mean Street Posse is some of the funniest, best things I've ever seen in my life. And also the battles over the hardcore title with Crash Holly.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic
stuff. But outside of his comedic contributions, Pat Patterson was also one of the finish guys. One of the agents, one of the longest standing agents. And I believe he was released, a month ago? Or was that Briscoe?
That was Briscoe.
Briscoe, okay, sorry. Either way, Patterson would take guys. The coolest thing about his being an agent was that he didn't structure the matches for the boys. The boys would come to him and be like, well, this is what we're thinking about doing. And they'd give him some options, and Patterson would pick pieces and help them form perfect matches. And he's been an agent, on some of the biggest matches in wrestling. He was the agent for the Austin Bret Hart match at WrestleMania 13?
Yes.
Yeah, WrestleMania 13. He was the agent. I could go on and on and on about all the matches. He's agent. But the point is, he was a primary agent for so long that really, he's one of the guys from the bygone era of wrestling that found ways to integrate some of the old fundamental parts of wrestling with the modern style and didn't take away from the natural talent the wrestlers already had, which is a lost art.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that I like, honestly, I've got you by a few years.
7 years. 7 years.
Dick.
Not that big of a difference.
No, but I've got you by a few years. I was able to watch Pat during the younger part of what a lot of people nowadays.
You mean in the 70s?
Are you? The 80s. Thank you.
The late 80s?
The early 80s. Anyway.
Tell me about the rabbits,
Tell
Grandpa.
me about the 80s. No, and the thing that I think, to me, Pat Patterson's best work took place just within the last few years with the Legends House.
Oh,
the Legends House TV show was so good.
It was very funny.
The taking all of those legends and Pat and putting them into one house was great.
Yeah.
The
even an argument with Piper in the house.
Several.
Yeah.
The best thing about it is
I watched Legends House.
As you spoke at the beginning of this video, Pat Patterson was a homosexual.
Yes, he was.
But he never admitted to being a homosexual till this show.
Yeah.
Which took a lot.
And some of the boys obviously already knew, but he never was public about it.
That was the best part of the whole thing, is that he sits down with them and he's like, I'm gay. And you can tell by looking at several of the wrestlers, they're like, yeah, we know. We know.
Was in a committed relationship to the same person up until the time he died. And they met, in the late 70s?
Something like that. Yeah.
So, hats off, because that's a long-standing relationship during a period...
By any means.
And definitely during a period in which, again, those relationships weren't always accepted.
No.
A fight we're still fighting today.
Yeah, for sure.
Pat Patterson, in that regard, really kind of paved the way for members of the LGBTQ community to be comfortable and to get into the wrestling business.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about it. You wouldn't have had the Sonny Devilles of today. You wouldn't have the Shayna Baszlers. I'm sorry, not Shayna Baszlers. The Sonny Kisses of today. You wouldn't have had Darren Youngs of today. And also Pat Patterson was sort of fundamental in elevating people of color.
For sure.
Was a genuine civil rights advocate in the wrestling business.
He dropped the Intercontinental title to Pedro Morales.
Yeah.
I mean, his contributions to professional wrestling are something that stand on their own away from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
His stuff he did in front of the camera was great. It was a good body of work. But most of his contributions, honestly, are more felt behind the curtain than in front of the curtain.
Yeah. Talk about some of my favorite Pat Patterson matches. One we're going to talk about a little bit is the street fight he had with Sergeant Slaughter in Madison Square Garden. The setup to this is very cool. Pat's already in his 40s, and he's a commentator. And they've been doing the Cobra Clutch Challenge, similar to the Master Lock Challenge that was popular in 2005 with Chris Masters, where Slaughter would get somebody in the ring, he'd strap on the Cobra Clutch. If they could escape, they'd win money or whatever, some title match or some nonsensical thing. And they set this up with Slaughter there, and the guy who's supposed to respond to the challenge doesn't come to the ring. So Patterson gets in the ring, and they jaw-jack a little bit. And Patterson was like, well, I can break out of the Cobra Clutch. So Slaughter puts it on him, and Patterson's almost got the Cobra Clutch broken. And Slaughter releases the hold and starts beating on Patterson. They go through a nice, long, arduous build to get to this match in Madison Square Garden, and it is one of the bloodiest, best street fights in the history. And I believe this was still WWWF for Vince Sr.
Yes.
So one of the best street fights. You cannot find it on the network. You can find it, however, on YouTube. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, because it's awesome.
Actually, I don't know if that's entirely accurate. I know that when
I looked and I couldn't find it.
Well, I know when wrestlers pass away, though, eventually within the month, it might be available now through like Pat Patterson video package.
If you can't find it on the network, the match is on YouTube. Check it out. It's a bloody, good old-fashioned street fight, and this is Slaughter, in his prime, when he was still jacked and juicy and doing the heel anti-American gimmick. And the funniest thing is that the Frenchman is the guy who put the boots to him.
Right.
It's fantastic. The people go banana.
Banana.
Man, I don't know what more we can really say about Pat Patterson.
There's really not much more to be said about Pat Patterson. The man was instrumental in a lot of people's careers. Yeah. Like you said, one of the best Finnish guys in the business. Consummate
professional, dedicated to the business, lifelong dedication to the business. Still working in the business up to now, up until the time he passed away, which is a huge
was set in the gorilla position for NXT. and give people pointers when they come back through the curtain. I mean, what more can be said?
Yeah. He was somebody who used his wealth of experience for the benefit of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Which is what we need more of.
Well, I mean, lifer.
Yeah, really. Not a 40-miler, not a ham and egger, a lifer. Yep. A guy who came, interestingly enough, a guy who comes from the territory, transitions into the mainstream and kept his position and his spot. And still found ways to be instrumental even in his older years in the ring by, again, we talked about the Stooges, creating entertaining content. I remembered the other day the CM Punk pipe bomb when he references Bisco and Patterson and calls them sycophantic douchebag yes men.
Yep.
Which is such a shame because Patterson was not a sycophantic douchebag yes man. He would tell Vince when he disagreed with creative. He would vie for creative difference, and obviously, Vince has the last word. It doesn't matter,
right?
But we're talking about a guy who was instrumental in the fluidity and the evolution of pro wrestling.
He was someone whose opinion Vince McMahon truly respected,
and would hear out.
Yes,
which is a commodity in and of itself.
Obviously, the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, El Royal Rumble, which I hope this year's. The upcoming Royal Rumble is dedicated to the memory of Pat Patterson.
It should be.
As it should be. Thank you guys so much. What are some of your favorite Pat Patterson? I'm sorry, Max. Did you have anything to contribute before we hopped off of here? Because we kind of steamrolled this whole conversation.
You covered pretty much everything that I remember. I mostly, like you said, remember
the Stooges,
Vince's Stooges, yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention the match that they had against, like I said, the Mean Street
Posse.
Where they come out and thump the shit out of the Mean Street Posse. Like, legit.
Fairness, both Briscoe and Patterson were still shooters in their 50s.
Wearing the riot helmets.
You fuck with those guys, man.
Or the what was it, the tuxedo match they had against each other, where Patterson pulled his pants down and had the big shit streak in the back of his underwear. Fantastic.
So good. Guys, let us know some of your fondest memories of Pat Patterson. We do that a variety of ways.
I wish I had a thumbnail of that on this video.
Send us an email at prowrestlingthrowdown@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/prowrestlingthrowdown. Follow us on Twitter at prowrestlingtd. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us a comment down below. In a couple weeks, you can find us back on Twitch at twitch.com/prowrestlingthrowdown. Stay tuned. We got some more videos dropping your way. We're going to talk about the AEW Impact tandem relationship coming up next. Ow.